Okay, so Vanessa, let's look at some of the pretty egregious content on mainstream media at the moment. And my question is my pet killing the planet?
Yeah, I mean, this was an article that I actually kind of just stumbled on yesterday and read with horror. This is by Sean Thomas at the Spectator magazine. So he's a travel writer. So let's have a look at what he's saying. So basically, what he's saying is that he feels sad and guilty about the way we humans treat our planet. Travel writers very much included, because he apparently always comes under fire for his carbon footprint when he travels around the world. But now he's saying that someone has come to his rescue and made him feel a lot better, at least relatively. His name is Patrick Hansen, and he's the boss of private jet firm Lux Aviation. At a media event recently, Hansen claimed that the average private jet customer is responsible for about the same emissions of carbon dioxide as someone who owns 3 medium-sized dogs or just one big dog. So clearly this had me hooked at this point, because I couldn't actually believe what I was reading. So he continues. So he goes over some numbers for a troubled conscience to chew over. In the US, meat consumption by pets generates 64 million tons of CO2 annually. That's the equivalent of driving 13.6 million cars. And if all the dogs and cats in America were a nation, it would be the world's 5th largest in terms of meat consumption. That's meat which could go to hungry humans. What he, of course, forgets to mention is that cats and dogs are naturally carnivores. Humans can eat an awful lot of other stuff. Meanwhile, simply owning a big dog generates 2.5 tons of CO2 a year. He gives absolutely no evidence to the claims that he's making, by the way, but he continues. The list of pet negatives goes on. Think of all the land set aside to grow the food that feeds the pets, millions of acres. Think of all the waste and CO2 created to make 1 billion pet toys. Think of the methane pets emit when they aren't pooping the environment into oblivion. One British study estimated that the flatulent dogs of Sheffield alone produced 1,500 tons of methane a year. He continues, the case is surely made. Pets are a tremendous drag on the planet, and it's not like we even need them. Aside from a few exceptional cases, so he does mention working rural animals, companions for people with severe loneliness, which is the majority of us after the COVID project, guide dogs for the blind. There is no logical justification for having a pet beyond sentimental reasons. Therefore, if you own a cat or a dog while still whining about the environment, you are that unpleasant thing, a hypocrite. I would be interested to get Brian's comments particularly, but to me, this is part of this. This isn't the first time that I've seen attacks on animals. Back in 2021, there were claims, of course, that COVID could be transmitted through domestic animals and zoo animals. So there was the pet vaccine rollout, which I claimed is psychological warfare against humanity, and I still claim that this warfare against domestic animals in particular, but against also wildfowl, against chickens, against livestock generally, is an attack on humanity itself. So who are producing the vaccines for animals that, by the way, were given out to pretty rare creatures in zoos in the US and I think in various other countries in the world? Zoetis are world leaders in the animal vaccine industry. The global animal vaccine market generated $9.9 billion in 2020 and is estimated to achieve $13.78 billion by 2028. This growth is on track despite the negative impact of the COVID-19 restrictions and lockdown. The company has existed for more than 65 years, and until 2013, oddly enough, was Pfizer's animal health unit. Pfizer has itself, of course, been fined almost $5 billion in the last 20 years for making false claims about their products. Zoetis, by the way, have an annual income of $11 billion with, I think, around 11,000 employees. So that gives you an indication of what a lucrative market this is for them. So in 2018, and this trial has only just been finalized, Zoetis were accused of a prior breach of vaccine licensing without sufficient clinical trials. Horse owners brought a 53 million class action lawsuit against Zoetis for failing to warn of side effects of a Hendra virus vaccine. 1,500 horses out of 500,000 vaccinated had suffered adverse reactions and had been unable to return to work. The Hendra virus is transmitted by flying foxes or bats, similar to claims made about the origins of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. LHD lawyers argued that Zoetis had aggressively marketed the Hendra vaccine for all horses in Australia in breach of the licensing and without proper clinical trials to identify side effects. That also goes, by the way, for the COVID vaccine that was given particularly to zoo animals and to domestic animals. Perhaps most importantly, the lawsuit alleged that Zoetis overstated the risks of the Hendra virus to the horse community. In 2022, Zoetis succeeded in defending its 53 million class action, and the legal company defending it managed to basically absolve them of all of the accusations. Not surprising. But this appears to be an attack on our humanity, on our connection to nature, just are, of course, the recent wildfires and floods that we're seeing that is devastating nature generally, while, of course, claiming that we are the ones that are guilty of destroying the planet through owning pets. Quite incredible.
Yes, and I just want to end this segment by reminding everybody that, of course, there was this campaign in the media in 2021 over cats. Owners warned against cuddling their cats after kitten dies from COVID, said the Telegraph. And of course, my response when we reported this at the time was because the streets are littered with the bodies of dead cats. It was, the whole thing was ridiculous. And then, of course, in March this year, James Bethel, former health minister, and he admitted the fact that the government was actually seriously considering a cull of all cats in the UK at the time. So, this is quite incredible. But the thing that really struck me about your report, Vanessa, was the parallels between the horse vaccine and what happened in humans with the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely. I just add very quickly, of course, Vanessa's right. Where was the evidence for claims made in that article? And to say that meat from animals, or the meat that animals would eat, could go to humans is nonsense, because of course the majority of that is condemned meat, unfit for human consumption. So the animal's doing us perhaps a favour in that way. But yes, the whole article utterly vicious, but no comment made on that.